My name is Marissa, and in today's episode, we're going to explore some of the deeper questions we carry about happiness, resilience, and also how to cope in today's world.
And I'm Dr. Glenn. As Marissa shared, our goal is simply to bring you insights from either our own experience in working in mental health as psychologists and counselors, or from our invited guests. They often bring their own wealth of wisdom and life experience. So today we have a very special guest. He's Rinpoche Neytrul, based in Bhutan, but often invited to Singapore to teach, among other things, the medicine Buddha and Buddhist philosophy. He's been coming here for years, has a beloved following here.
Thank you very much.
So on that topic of philosophy, as everyone knows, your king and his father came up with this concept of gross national happiness, which is a very, I think, important theme in this global climate and situations that are happening around the world. So happy to help promote that in any way we can, and I'm sure you are as well. So since we're here, why don't we take an opportunity to hear your opinions or your thoughts, philosophies on this concept of happiness. What is it? How does one attain it? Just in general, what are your thoughts on happiness?
Thank you very much. Indeed, we address him as the the fourth king of Bhutan. When he was 16, he became the king at teenagers. And in the teaching of Buddha Dharma, we taught all the Buddhist king are always manifestations of enlightened beings. And the great fourth is the greatest evidence that is enlightened beings return to help the world. So in 90s, when everyone was talking about GDP and Bhutan being the third world country then, so the people wanted to focus on GDP. So then the great fourth command saying, it's not only the GDP that brings happiness. So now we call it hedonic happiness, right? The treadmill happiness. So he introduced that, saying that GDP is not everything. Then His Majesty the King, the fourth, mentioned maybe the gross national happiness on GDP. Then we talk about culture. We talk about the nature. Then we talk about the good governance. So it's a collective happiness.
And climate.
Yes, so that will promote overall well-being. So I call it now is a well-being model. So well-being and the wellness. For individual well-beings and overall well-beings, we need many wellness centers. GDP is one of that, but we need other elements. So since then, it become the main so-called philosophy, and we have GNH Center. Any project in Bhutan have to be passed by GNH Center.
GNH
Center. So it's an autonomous entity that look after the ethics of GNH. If they is aligned with GNH. So gross national happiness with 4 pillars. And there are other domains. So overall, of course, it is definitely a very wise, enlightened wisdom that looking at what we call it is the eudaimonic happiness.
And you mentioned as well about the climate. I think there's another claim to fame, right, for Bhutan.
So it was because in environment, or one of the pillar, is the policy of the government. 60% of the forests have to be preserved. So that helps people to have a lot of nature and then the energy. So Bhutan is also certified as awarded or certified as the first ever, only country that is carbon negative.
That's incredible.
First and only carbon negative.
Yeah, so it's the only country right now because that is mainly from the 4 pillars of GNH, the pillar of environment. Yeah. And then you have been to Bhutan, you know what it means. Yeah. So how is all scattered, and we're very blessed to have Bhutan helping the entire universe with that energy. And we, the country, the king, people, trying our best to contribute and continue helping the world. That this is also the philosophy of Buddha Dharma in the country. Is a Buddhist country. So Buddhists don't look after only after Buddhists or human being. We call sentient beings. We are talking about universal love. In order to love and care for others, we must have something for yourself. So this is what we can contribute geographically, and it's a great evidence that we are able to be a carbon negative.
It's incredible. It's such an important topic nowadays as well. And as you mentioned, there's so many factors to measure success in a way, to measure happiness. And also Glenn has shared with me that one of these factors that you're very passionate about is awareness, where awareness is a big topic in your teachings, but it is not necessarily the same that we would nowadays maybe call mindfulness, or that it has been generalized as mindfulness. Can you maybe share with us a little bit, what are the differences when you talk about awareness and mindfulness? Where do you see the difference in that?
Yeah. Even the English word mindful, we do say be mindful, but it's not very strong. The impact is not there. And in the very recent meditations, and I call it fashion meditations, mindfulness loosely used in many of the settings. It could be just breathing, it could be a self-care, and it's just a labeling. In such as meditation, mindful, we do not have these two particular word and definition in Dharma, like so-called or tradition, in so-called Buddhism, right? We call it Dharma. First, meditation, we call it habit, our habitual. We all have bad habits, to be upset, to be having under pressure, stress, anxiety. These are habits, and you are always surrounded by those stressors, and you easily get into that habit. So that's when we become very destructive. So in Dharma, we are taught new methods, new habits. We call wisdom through Dharma. If you get upset over somebody, it's called analytic meditation. So we analyze why. For example, I'm late here today, Then the reason why he's late, he didn't know that it's quite a distance, right? So then analyzing it, was it intentional? Was it unintentional? Then suddenly wisdom arises. Then the awareness comes in. Oh, it is genuinely, an unintentional case. So where your love, your patience, and the care come for the people. So then that's called awareness. You are aware why things are happening. When there is awareness, then there is a wisdom. When there is a wisdom, then there is a realization. And then that's when your love, care, is manifested. So we call it habits. Meditation equals to habits. So we need to have a habit of being aware every time, That's what in Dharma we call analytic meditation. So it's like analyze why. So we call, if you have heard of Nalanda University in India, it was a center to analyze all our emotions. In modern psychology, we have 7 emotions, right? And then in Dharma, we have 84,000 emotions. 84,000 emotions. And those emotions manifest all the unhappiness. So that's when we do the examinations. So there are 2 aspects to it. We call it vigilance and introspection.
What's that second term?
Introspect. To examinate.
Okay.
So for example, when the thought arises, if I'm not happy with 2 of you, the awareness is so important. Oh, I'm not happy. That vigilance is so important. Always stay alert. Always be aware. And then suddenly, when I'm not happy, then you introspect why. So these 2 help us to gain great awareness.
We need to reflect on what is going on within us. What are the emotional triggers that we carry within us? And why do we feel triggered in certain moments? I think that's one of the biggest points, that we as human beings need to be aware of what's going on within us. And you also mentioned, it's 84,000 emotions. So we need to be aware What are they called? Where do I feel them in my body? How do I react when I feel them?
And identifying it.
And not just for our mental health, but for our physical health.
Absolutely.
Because imagine the stress the body goes through when we have worry.
Yeah.
If we're worried about, what's happening this morning, that could deter the whole plan,
Yeah.
confuse us. So so I guess the process of awareness is in line with the goal of freeing yourself from all of these unnecessary.
Yes. So another simple one is the wisdom, So awareness and wisdom. Through awareness, then the wisdom is accumulated. So in the Dharma, we call it accumulations of wisdom. Good karma is another part. We call accumulation of good karma is being good. But being good is not enough. You have to be wise. So many people are kind and they become the victim of their own kindness. They are too kind, and there's no enough strength, awareness. So then you become the victim of your own kindness. So in Dharma, where we teach or we study, you have to be kind with wisdom and the awareness part. So in modern days, when we say mindful, breathe, be aware of your body, your sensations, but we don't talk about emotions, So then that's why, so mindful is all about self-care, and it's escape or it's a coping mechanism, So for us in Dharma, people like myself being on the path, we hardly just meditate. Every actions we call body, speech, mind, that three entity. We watch our speech. Examine it. We examine our thoughts. We examine our moves. So we always watchful of our body, speech, and mind. This is like, every day in every event, do with awareness. Everything is with awareness. And they are very, especially in Vajrayana, people call it Tibetan Buddhism. Right? For us, it's very rare we just sit down and being a sitting meditation, is a very active, analytic process. We call it stage of development. Your mind has to develop into a greater wisdom. And these are the stages you develop. You could be walking, you could be cooking, you could be talking to people, but there is awareness and recognizing it. So, and after some time, this become your habit. Then we call it meditation. The word that we use for that is called gom. Gom meaning habit. Let's make it habit.
Like discipline or different than discipline?
Discipline is different. It's a part of a method to help you. For example, such as not eating meat, all the abstaining,
to help you,
all this to help you. So then your mind is much more relaxed. Then you have more awareness. So for the happiness in Dharma, we have two types of happiness. We call it temporary happiness and then the everlasting happiness. Temporary happiness is similar to the hedonic happiness. Any happiness that comes from the external factors, be it relationship, materials things, this can last very short period. So we call it temporary happiness based on material things, friendship, whatever, And the everlasting happiness is the self-actualization, the self-awareness, as we talk about the wisdom. So in the Dharma, our main aim is to achieve everlasting happiness. It's not even same as eudaimonic happiness. It goes beyond. It's very much on self-awareness, so that can produce so-called everlasting happiness.
Beautiful.
So Marissa, you notice how we're sitting almost like a counseling session, right?
We are, yes.
What if I told you that Rinpoche, besides being a teacher of medicine Buddha and Buddhist philosophy, is also training right now to become a psychologist counselor?
Wow. Can you share with us more about that?
Well, I'm not there yet, Thank you for Glenn and then all the other friend who helped me to so-called facilitate and encourage. Because in Dharma, they are mind and body, two different entities mainly. So we always say our mind is borrowing our body, for the next 100 years, if you are lucky, right? And in a modern psychology, we don't have the mind entity, right? So I was very curious about modern psychology. There's no mind, but we talk about the functions of the mind, the emotions, So there was really a curiosity, was the unknown behind that. So that's one of the main reasons that I was. So that's the main reason, And I'm very happy because what I have realized is in modern psychology, they have done a wonderful job diagnostic part. So we have in the 5DSM, right, about almost 400 mental disorders, And that's just fantastic. It's a wonderful outcome, result. It's maybe too early or we are still not there when it comes to the solution, right? As we always say, you are your own best solutions, So I find that part is a struggle in the modern psychology. And now I said that the Dharma psychology is a solution-based. So what we have studied is always a solution. And we don't focus too much on diagnostic part. So that's why we say 84,000 types of mental disorder. 84,000.
Based on the emotions that we're
according to
feeling.
Dharma. So these 84,000 are all unhelpful emotions. It's a destructive emotions. We call it destructive emotions. So they are ignorance, mainly. Ignorance manifests 21,000 different ignorance.
We're seeing a lot of that today in the world.
After that, there's a desire. There are 21 types of different desires. Then there are anger, 21,000 of different angers. So that makes about about almost 70 plus. Right? Then there are another ego and jealousy, 21,000. So total 84,000. All these are destructive, unhealthy emotions. So then the Gautama, so-called Buddha, the teacher Gautama taught solution for that, 84,000. And we have 84,000 subjects to study, and it's called sutra. And so when I study modern psychology, I realized that Dharma has really a great solution for that, and it's a great marriage with West and East. So I'm very happy I'm studying modern psychology. It benefited me tremendously, to know the field. And then, so there's also through my experience in Buddha Dharma, there's a lot of things I could contribute, So hopefully I can continue studying and.
If you're a Buddhist psychologist, you get to sit with your legs up like that.
I don't think I can do that in a counseling session just yet.
You can. I know counselors who do that. I really do.
Because it is about holding comfortable space, right?
The soleil, right?
Yeah. But I really liked how you talked about these stages of development, and especially when we look at the stage of our world that is in today, everything is about instant. I want instant healing. I want instantly to be able to ignore my pain. But it is really when we sit with the pain that we're feeling, and when we have this time to introspect ourselves, why am I feeling this, and have this awareness growing. Is this also when you would say that's how we grow resilience? Because I feel for lots of people, they want to become more resilient to life's triggers, but it's hard for them to understand how. Is there some insights that you can share with us how we can become more resilient as a person?
It's generally, if you look at our nature, since we're a baby, we are taught to look after ourselves. The self-important. In Dharma, we call it ego, but in psychology, ego is a positive thing, right? In Dharma, especially the superego, it's all about self. It's not about knowledge. It's about self-importance, all right? Then you forget about everything and everyone. It's a very of course, driven by ignorance, and then you don't think of others. When you don't think of others, then in the Dharma we call sameness, that you and I are the same. So I have many friends that are sharing about before they were not studying Dharma. As I mentioned, we call it sentient beings. For me, this is a beautiful theory in teaching of Dharma. Sentient beings. We are talking about human beings,
Yeah.
you know, that really are human. So we only talk about human beings. And religion, people, we talk about our people, our religion people. The rest are, if you do not surrender yourself, then I don't take care of you, you know. In Dharma, we call it universal love or sentient beings, as long as there's consciousness. Remember, as I was saying, there's a mind and a body entity. So they are human and they are non-human. You know, and we only could see animal and then the human, since we are biologically, you know, the being are beings, but there are sentient beings, consciousness around, right? So we take care of all these are. I don't know if you believe in life after death. You know, if there's a
It
life,
is a huge topic, yes.
yeah. If there's a life after death,
Yeah.
we become sentient beings one day.
Yeah.
Our body will be, you know, dissolved. Our mind will wander somewhere. Nobody could see us, but doesn't mean we are not there. You know. So similarly, in that way, the awareness of being another being is there is so important. And through that awareness, and how do you feel if it's happened to you? That's why Gautama also mentioned in the teaching. He said, my teachings are very simple, he said. Rangi lule pelong, jala never machiji. He said, use yourself as example. You know, take that experience, you know, and don't repeat this to anyone else. Another simple word, being in someone's shoes. You know, do you like what, you know, how you are treated?
Yeah.
On this topic, I don't know if you've come across it yet in your psychology study or research, but there's an interesting theory called mortality threat syndrome or theory. And what it talks about is how when we're under threat, let's say, for example, a politician says those people are wrong, and those people are dangerous. So we have this concept of a threat. Our natural instinct as humans is to kind of move towards and congregate with people who are like us. So whether that's color, culture, you know, race, somehow we'll move towards the people who are like us for safety and avoid the different one, right? So this is what I saw happen in the last, we could say, 6 years in politics and around the world, where there's this threat dropped and then the people just scatter and kind of form their camps and their groups and their territories. And this is what I'm really concerned about. So this is such an important topic you're sharing.
Sameness,
the Buddhist philosophy about that sameness.
Yeah.
So through that, so for us again, so I will continue what the Gautama said, right? He said, so be in someone's place. See how you feel, he said, number one. And how do we do that? Then he says, be aware. You know, that again, the awareness. Rangi lule pelona, jala neva machichi, rangi sebne yonsu do. Says, tame your mind. Our mind is, the habits are so strong, right? Oh, this is mine. We call it me and mine. There are two errors. It's all about me. I am talking. I said that. I think. So I is so important, and you don't give space to other people that harm yourself, unintentionally you harm others. Secondary, my belongings, my family, my country, my. Of course, these are the very good so-called energy to be productive. But when you are productive, I always share this with my friend. Someone's gain is someone's lose. You know, when you gain, someone has to lose it. And then when who is that someone? Right? Who is that someone? Sometimes you become that someone, you lose it, you are unhappy. So that sameness is very important. But you have to have a great awareness for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of experience with loss these days, and many people reporting, you know, fraud scams. Just today, I had an interesting conversation on the way here in a taxi, which often happens in Singapore. But I was talking with the taxi driver about how important it is that people get in the right taxi. Otherwise, it causes disruption for everyone's schedule. And he was talking about, you know, in life, there's so many challenges every day. When you give in to worry, you're just wasting your time. What does worry accomplish, right? So we got into, and so I shared that I'll be meeting you this morning and talking to a Rinpoche from Bhutan about these very topics. And then we got into another interesting, relevant topic related to counseling in a way, because he was saying that so many people want to give advice. Like you said, me, they want to hear themselves talk. They want to give advice for themselves. They want to feel like they were the wise one, the benevolent one or whatever. And how important it is to sometimes just be there for someone, just be present with them, just hold that space, offer support, the idea of emotional support, right? And I thought it was such a great point, because that's what counselors do. Counselors aren't supposed to give advice. They're supposed to sit, be present, create questions that would help the person find a solution, find a way, but be there with them, right? And on the topic of loss, he shared that one of his close friends had a very hard life, a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges, right? But he had this mindset of combating worry and challenge with giving love, gratitude, even charity. And interestingly, he's the founder of a chapter of Harley Davidson riders in Singapore called the War Pigs. So Lionel Lim, my taxi driver missionary, who self-proclaimed missionary of Christian faith, told me, this guy's name is Nelson, the driver. He told me his close friend Lionel Lim was this Harley Davidson leader, founder, and just passed away 5 days ago. Yeah, and so there was 60 Harley Davidson riders in a throng following the hearse in honor of him. But his whole life was about this kind of mission of just being positive, facing adversity with, I guess, grit and positivity. So yeah, I think there is a way to combat the stressors of life.
Yeah, and I think like on that topic as well, if we look at the situation in today's world, I think lots of people are feeling the unrest with politics, environment, and power. And it nearly feels that people are going through this existential crisis about what kind of legacy are we leaving for our next generation? What kind of world are we leaving for our children? Do you have any advice how to face these big questions in their existence and how we are going to look forward towards the future?
This is the questions we all have.
Yes.
Right, all the time. But at the
Every day, every morning.
Actually, maybe 100 years ago, they had the same, we call it degenerating time. I don't know if you have heard of that word, degenerations. So in Dharma, we have the term called time degenerations. So we degenerate ourselves. So it's called degenerated period. So it is not a surprise, it's not a curse. It is degenerating. This is, and the collective awareness is very important. Say the expression, charity begins at home. Right. First thing, I think, instead of there are two aspects to it. First thing, important to look after ourselves, the self-care, right? Emotionally, and then we have to do something. We're all part of the world, right? Second part, I was just sharing with this some of my friends yesterday. When there's a war in Europe or part of the Middle East somewhere, yes, we emotionally affected, but at the same time, we're still functioning a bit far. Maybe we are safe here. Maybe our fuels are more expensive, and then the cost of living maybe goes up, but we don't see any of this major, impact around here. And we have that attitude. Right? Mm-hmm. So some of the people not even bothered by what's happening in the world, right? So I was saying, the world as one. If something happened to you at all, it's so painful, right? So right now, this how we are treating totally two different entity. So there's no awareness. People know the world is not well. The major part of the world, and they don't do anything about it because they really don't connect themselves with the toe. For example, if it's happened to your toe,
you would fix it.
You're like, oh, it's so painful. My other limbs are okay, but this is so painful. Everyone will, entire your being will be taking care of this toe, right? So we don't have that attitude right now, So it's not even sometimes the toe, it's the entire limb of the world is affected. We still act, nothing happened to us. And we go like, oh, the part of the limb is gone, but it's a very much part of us, right? So the awareness, the collective awareness is so important. There are people like yourself. There are few people. This is selective. If you go on the street interviewing, maybe 2 or 3 out of 10 will talk about how can we help the world. The rest forget about the world. We need to take care of ourselves.
And now they're making it dangerous to voice yourself. To the journalists are getting killed. The people who speak out against politicians are getting clamped down and attacked in other ways. So I think people are now even more aware of how do I approach helping? What do I do that won't compromise me or my family, right? So it's a really big challenge that we got to figure out how to navigate.
But that's why, as I was saying, there's a beautiful things by one of the Buddha Dharma philosophers spoke about it. The world is changing. If you wanted to change the entire world, it would be difficult because who are we? It has to be top down. The powerful beings in the world, especially the leaders, wealthy, and then the powerful could bring that changes. Unfortunately, most of the powerful and wealthies are blind by their own emotions and ignorance, right? And not aware what's happening, unintentionally, I guess, right? Because of the environment they live in, So we talk about people in the city, things, the food comes from supermarket, not aware how the farmers have to work hard. Similarly, once you are into certain environment, you do not see what's happening outside. You are just protected, and then you and your family don't feel it because we are wealthy, we are powerful.
We take things for granted.
Unintentionally though. They are not intentional when I look at it, because this is the so-called blessing that they have. Since my family, my people are not affected, if anything happens to my country, for example, I'll just take the entire family to the safe country somewhere, And then what happened to the rest of? There's no oneness again, right? So the important part, I think, like as I was sharing, it's important for us to be aware. We cannot help the world, but we can help our family to learn about it, the collective awareness, and then they extend this around. So I think that's what the great philosopher said. We cannot save the entire world. Right? So he gave an example of being the place very messy, say very muddy. If you ask people to clean the entire mud, it will be a lot of work. He said, instead wear a pair of shoes, so at least, you are safe, So in a way, meaning what I'm trying to say is, we cannot help the world, but at least we don't want to harm. We cannot help the world, but we don't become the part of people, beings that is harming others. So I think we can stop that. Begins at our home, at our environment, So slowly, and then we believe in result, the karma. If you do that, the sudden environment will change, But if you want to change entire world, it's a degenerated time. As I said, it has to come from. So that's why
From the top, yeah.
Yeah. So Bhutan is doing that.
Yeah.
So first the great fourth, the 4 pillar. Now the current king is another outstanding leader of the country. We have this mindful city coming up, and this is not for Bhutan. He is doing this for the world, at the safest space. So we cannot. Bhutan is very tiny country. There's nothing much we can do in the larger, so-called skill in the world, but you can do.
What can you do for your people?
Home, begins at home.
Yeah.
Right? So here's this 1,200 square kilometers new city for a world to come in and help themselves to be safe and to live in a nicer environment. So it will be.
Have you heard about this?
I've read a little bit about it, yes.
So we are giving 1 million residents, citizens there, residents, what do you call it? pass, you know, a PR.
Yes.
Like a visa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's with ethics. So exactly, our king is doing that. You know, selectively, people with the that like thinkers, you know, and then just move in. So people who respect that 4 pillars, you know, and people who wanted to really help the world, and that's a safe place, is 100%. It's called mindful city, you know, so that people live with awareness.
Can you imagine a place like that? It could be the last refuge on the planet. When I think about it, it's like of all the chaos in the world and all the places that aren't safe anymore, this could be one of the few places where there's still a mindset of neighbor love,
Community,
compassion,
belonging.
caring. Yeah.
I think this is like what people crave, and that's why they feel this crisis is really happening within them. Like, how can I help the world? I feel helpless. So hearing about this movement, like you said, it's like this refuge where you feel there is still people who think like me, who feel, where compassion and community really comes before power. And
What I like about this philosophy you've been sharing is that it doesn't try to answer those hard questions, right? That those questions are impossible to answer in some way. And a counselor doesn't want to give advice, right? So if we can't give advice and we don't have any answer, what else could we do? Drop in these pearls of wisdom, drop in this philosophy, this way to look at life that's been happening for hundreds of years, right?
That this is not today. You know, if you look at it, it's been degenerating. You know, 2,500 years ago, the most serious person was Gautama, the Prince Siddhartha. He felt that emotions, like, oh my, the world is changing. How can I help? How can I help? And he went into that solitary retreat. After he was enlightened, he came back. And he shared what he shared. So today, so-called Buddhism, Buddhist teachings, is what he tried to help the world. We have 8 billion people. There's not even, you know, I think 10 million Dharma followers, you know. And it's so difficult to share the good things, right? After that, 500 years is the Lord Jesus Christ, you know. Jesus Christ did the same thing to help, you know, so there's a greater impact. After that is Muhammad, for example, 500 years. All these individuals felt that emotions like the world is not safe. How can I change, you know? And they all did their part, and this is the residual, you know. Unfortunately, sometimes we use it wrong, you know, their wisdom in their care, you know. So similarly, now even in Bhutan, the king of Bhutan is another individual that is trying to help the world, you know, by creating GMC, the mindful city, saying that, hey, we cannot have the entire world, but this is what I want to preach about mindful. In my country, I'm giving you all the space. You know? So we have wellness center, one element, education, which everyone needs, right? Then the health, then the agriculture, you know, and then of course the most modern, advanced, the digitalizing everything, you know.
So Rinpoche, on this GMC project, Global Gala for Mindful City, GMC, on this GMC project, are you allowed to share a little bit about your part of it? Because I know the king specifically asked you, among other Rinpoches, to come up with your own ideas and inspirations and designs, and you did come up with a brilliant plan and idea that you shared with me. And I just wondered, are you allowed to talk about that today?
Yes, thank you. So as I mentioned, the king is trying to contribute this for the world, and then spiritual. Even in the well-being, we talk about your spiritual well-being is very important, you know. So we are the well-being so-called the contributors, and fortunate and privileged to be one of the so-called element myself to contribute to the new city. So my proposal project is called Healing Garden, you know. So we all need healing, and then I wanted to provide this space called Healing Garden. So in there, I have wellness center, and then the education is something that I'm really concerned about, you know, because education is all about self, right? You know, right now, be it the greatest university talks about your performance and what you can proof, not about what you can do for the world, So I'm thinking of having a special college focusing on love and compassion, and to help the world to build the future human, mainly love and compassion. So that is one of my element, the education part. Then we have agriculture. I'm trying to, because it's a sustainable, self-sustainable is very important, and Bhutan is known for this environment and having great large land, And I want to do the permaculture for the entire living there. That is my third element, and the fourth being the spiritual, my strength. So having the World Meditation Research Center, and in the center there will be a healing temple dedicated for the Buddha of medicine. So that's my proposal to the project.
And all of this is, if you can imagine a mandala. Do you know what a mandala is?
Yeah.
So all of this is, if you look top down
from the
the heavens, you'll see this mandala. So his entire project, 4 pillars, creates this mandala. So it's quite a beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. So there will be 4 gates.
Yeah.
Each direction. So like east, north, west, south. So putting this 4 elements into 4 gates of the mandala. In the center, there will be the temple.
Beautiful.
And we can have retreats there. We can bring people to Bhutan and have these retreats.
It sounds definitely like something to look forward to, something to look into the future and have hope.
And again, for the education, I was thinking the Dharma philosophy and modern psychology, in the combinations of the curriculums. I think the modern psychology helps to people identify what is going wrong with your mental wellness. And Dharma has a solution to contribute and how to overcome that. So one of our main so-called strength is, this is what in the education part, modern psychology and then the ancient Dharma psychology combinations to help the modern children.
I think that sounds definitely like another conversations that we need to have. So we need to get together again and talk about this more in depth, how we can like look into the future, what we can take from the Eastern culture and the Western culture, from the modern culture, from the ancient teachings, and bring them together. But at this point, we would like to also say thank you so much, Rinpoche, for coming, for sharing your wisdoms, your teaching, your insights, and just for your presence here with us today. Thank you so much.
We'll put information for how you can reach Rinpoche. He's doing great works in mostly Paro, where he's based, in his own monastery. He has a very ancient monastery that he's been appointed to. How many monks are there with you? 101 monks.
Monks and nuns.
Yeah, beautiful people. I met them, most of them, my last visit to Bhutan. And this monastery is fabulous. You have to see it. It's how many years old? 470 years. It's being
From 16th century.
Right, being restored, and they're filming the restoration. So we look forward to hearing more, and I'll put some information about how you can reach Rinpoche, hear more about his projects in Paro and Bhutan. And
thank you to all of our listeners who have tuned in. If this resonated with you, feel free to share this conversation. And until next time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.